All right. Yeah, if you're on the task force, if you could please come off camera or come on camera, I should say. I'd just love to see you. Good morning. And I will start our roll call and we will get started with business here. All right, I will go ahead and see. I'll just call names and say you're here. If you're here, then I won't have to flip screens. Kelly Abbott.
Here.
Fantastic, Kelly. Norma. Michelle Bradley. I know Ashley is on the phone right now. She's present. Anna.
Yep, thank you.
I'm here.
Anna, thank you. Jenna.
I'm here.
I thought I saw you. There you are. Hello. Brian Cotter. I know I saw. There you are. Hello. Dennis is here. Hello, Dennis. Janelle.
I'm here.
Thank you, Janelle. Dave Hayes. Chelsea.
Here.
Ah, good morning, Chelsea.
Morning.
Kevin, I see you. Thank you for being here. Good to see you. Dave Lee. Fantastic.
Here.
Timothy Smelser. Renee.
Yep, I'm here. And sorry, I'll be on camera in just a moment.
Good to have you. Beth. Hi, Beth. Brandon.
I'm here.
Good morning. Becky.
Becky's joining right now.
Okay, Becky's joining right now. Hi, Becky. Elizabeth, good morning. I've already said hello to you.
Hi.
Hi, Lynette. Oh, we just saw Lynette walking. There she is.
I'm here.
Excellent. We would love to be walking with you. That would be lovely. Jana. Jana. All right. I think I have gone through roll. Fantastic. Good morning, Becky.
Good morning.
We will go ahead and move to the approval of the August 9th, 2023 meeting minutes. That should have been in everybody's email correspondence that Trace sent out. So focusing just on those meeting minutes, are there any changes, corrections, additions that members would like to see? I'm looking, I'm scanning. I see no hands up. All right. We must have done an okay job. If I could have a motion, please, and a second to pass the August 9th minutes.
This is Dennis. I'll move that we pass the August 9th minutes.
Second.
And Kevin Lash was our second. Anybody opposed to the passage of the April 9th meeting minutes? Please raise your hand if you're opposed. Okay, seeing none, those meeting minutes will pass. Moving on to our second document, which is the summary, the meeting recap, as we call it. Again, just as a refresher, this is the narrative form of the meeting minutes, and this content will be substantially repurposed for any reports that the committee puts out. So it's an important document. Same thing. Are there any additions, corrections, or edits that you would like to see made to the August 9th meeting recap? All right, I see none. All right, if we could also have a motion and a second to pass the meeting recap, and please announce your name as you do.
This is
Hello,
Dennis.
this is David Lee. I'll make a motion to approve
All right,
that
Dave
meeting
Lee.
recap.
That was Dave Lee as our first, and then I'm sorry, second, I'll take you, Dennis.
Sure, I'll be the second.
Thank you. Anybody opposed to passing the meeting summary from August 9th of 2023? All right, seeing no objections, we will go ahead and proceed. All right, thank you all, and turning it over to Trace.
Yep.
Yeah, just a couple quick notes, and then I'm actually going to bring in Jordan today. One, really appreciate folks that gave us feedback on our report. So just wanted to say a quick thank you there. We're excited to kind of pivot now, and Jordan's going to kind of overview how we're doing that. So I anticipate a quick meeting today, just a heads up. I'm not going to give us a number to jinx us, but we're going to do a little bit of level setting around kind of what's next, and do some grouping and whatnot, which Jordan will get into. So I'm excited to see where we land today. I think it's going to really set a good direction moving forward. So I think if folks could, I think in the next hour, if we're really focused, I made the joke that for every minute we're on here, an infant is watching TV. So that since I don't have childcare this morning, so we'll get it done. So I'm going to bring in Jordan. Jordan's going to overview, and then we'll go from there. So Jordan, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Trace, and good morning, everyone. I'm going to pull up a slide deck really quick. As Trace and Stephanie mentioned, we are at a point in our work where we can begin to break into subcommittees and start putting pen to paper and start working through some of the topics that I know we've been really, really eager to get into. So just as kind of an overview on where we're sitting as a task force collectively, as you know, and as the interim report reflected, we have effectively worked through the quantitative and qualitative data sets. This isn't kind of a new checkbox. You should have seen this in some of our previous slides, but we do consider those two, it's technically one, but we break it into two directives as being complete and addressed by the task force. The remainder of the directives we're very close on. If you see everything here in this green bluish color, these are our ongoing directives, and we have in some way, shape, or form started to bring these directives into our conversations. And as we work to break into our individual subcommittee work groups, these directives actually play into each of those discussions just through slightly different lenses. You will see that I've held out the identify resources because having listened to conversations, I know that that's kind of been a wish of the members is to put resources aside for a moment, discuss the possibility of programs and systems, and then come back to resources once we've kind of started working through those issues. Obviously, we know that they're important. We will come back. But acknowledging what the task force has mentioned, we've kind of put that one on the back burner while we work through these other directives that are in green. And so with that, really excited to kind of pivot following the interim report and start breaking into subcommittee groups. We've heard very clearly from all of you that we're falling into two very, very broad different discussions here. And one is the intervention category, which we summarized heavily in the interim report, which we've been working on closely, which is this standard response protocols, communication and coordination among entities, statewide response units, temporary placements. Those are things that we kind of took that collective vote on in our last meeting. And again, that was summarized in the interim report. And then also that huge acknowledgement that yes, we were going to get into our prevention work. And this is the start of that discussion as well. So we have our prevention subcommittee, which will focus broadly on the subjects here. This is just a starting point. There are other things that very clearly may come into both of these subcommittees. But what we've heard and what we've pulled from previous discussions is the prevention subcommittee will focus very closely on education, current laws and regs regarding how we can address education, locked or time delay notions, electronic monitoring, and in some cases restraint. So these are our two buckets. What we would like to do today is ask each member to self-select into one of these two subcommittees so we can start working in these direct subcommittees and actually start putting pen to paper on potential programs, potential recommendations. What do we think we would look like? We're transitioning out of that kind of high level landscape analysis, if you will, bigger discussions. We've used our note catchers to kind of divide these two things up. We're ready to kind of separate and do the work. The good news is right now we're not scheduling additional meetings. The way that we envision doing this is that we will join during our regular meeting times or previously scheduled meeting times, and the two subcommittees will break apart, go work, have additional resources. We are asking that everyone pick one subcommittee, but I want to stress to everyone here, we will come together on a regular basis so both subcommittees can report out, the group can discuss as a whole where each subcommittee is going. Everyone on the task force will receive all the same materials. So the intervention subcommittee will receive all the prevention subcommittee work and vice versa. So everyone will stay very closely engaged and informed about what the other subcommittee will be doing, both in prep materials. And of course, we're going to start doing those meeting summary recaps for each subcommittee so you can review and come back and we'll have these discussions. The way we kind of envision this going forward, and again, we're responsive to you. So if this is not the best way that we want to move forward after we test this out for a little bit, we'll regroup and we'll rethink about it. But what we would like to do is move forward with effectively 2 meetings where we break out into our subcommittees, we do detailed work, and then we come back for a large group discussion. So this is the projected timeline for this work. So we'll do November, December, individual subcommittees. January, we come back for a large group. February, March, individual subcommittees back together for a large group. May, June, individual subcommittees come back for a large group. I've marked July as a point where I think as a task force, it might be beneficial if we haven't already to discuss reconvening as a large group for the remainder of the task force duration so that we can start working on our final report. What recommendations are we going to bring forward, if any? What programs are we going to be selecting? What do we need to do that? I'm going to stop sharing because it's always kind of weird talking to a small box over here. So the great news as we break into this work, and I think that we've had the opportunity to introduce Brian Kelly, who is our newest member of the CPO. Brian, do you want to wave? Brian has been hired as a policy analyst for the agency, which is wonderful news because this means Brian is here to serve as a resource to this task force and our other, putting together substantial research packets for each of our subcommittees. So Brian has already started working on kind of a baseline research package for each subcommittee, again, based on our previous discussions. So what he is working on presently for what will be presented to the prevention subcommittee is a packet of information that includes a couple states that actually have statute around how they address secure residential facilities outside of youth corrections. He's doing a very in-depth packet that would look at Colorado law, Colorado regulation, federal law, and some of those gaps or vagueness that we previously identified so that you can see it laid out. You can have that as part of your conversation. He's pulling excerpts from across the country regarding how different entities have programs for educating youth who come into facilities about runaway and behaviors and risks that happen in there. And then in some cases, because this is also something that's been expressed, the use of restraints in such circumstances. So that's the baseline research packet he is preparing for prevention. For the intervention side, he's working to expand on some of that work that's already been done. So for those states that have a standard protocol, he's working to pull those protocols, get all that information to all of you, summarize it, give you the full packet so that that committee can begin working on that. Same for the response unit, states with that in place, excuse me, as well as some examples or some research, I should say, as to how we're seeing those coordinated efforts in other states. Equally exciting is Brian's working very swiftly. I have to give him a lot of credit. He's jumped in feet first. He's working to bring in speakers as well, so that if we're talking about what something looks like as in another state, he's already in contact with some of those states to bring someone in to talk to subcommittees about what that looks like on the ground, because it's always one thing to look at a statute, but to understand the implications on the state level, on that ground level is different. We also have a meeting scheduled with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to come in and talk to us as well as, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the National Center for Education on runaway prevention. We're also making contact with them. So we are here to serve as a resource for these subcommittees as we move forward. I'm going to pause for a second. I talked a lot and I just want to take traces like, Jordan, you talk too much. I know.
No. Good talking. I was going to say though, let's pause and I'd love some reactions from folks. I think the one thing Jordan's done a ton of work on, like being thoughtful around how we can move this forward in a meaningful way, but curious to hear from folks, any reactions. Again, the aim is co-design, but we also have to move because we have a limited time. So curious how that's landing for folks. Becky, I see your hand up. Go ahead, Becky.
I love you, Trace. I think that sounds like a good plan. I think that sounds fine. I don't have any suggestions.
Okay. Jenna, okay, there we go. Brian. All right, Sergeant Cotter, come on.
I think this is a great idea. I think those are distinct areas. I think all of us have great expertise in both of them, but this will be a good way to sort of divide and conquer and then bring us together so that even if you're not on a specific subcommittee, you can still weigh in on it.
Thank you, Sergeant Cutter.
Sounds good to me.
Cool.
Also, welcome, Brian. It sounds like you really did hit the ground running. Exciting stuff.
Thank you. It's great to be here and to learn from you all.
Great. All right. Well, appreciate that. Again, as we go along, if there's feedback, we'll continue to utilize the exit surveys, and obviously you can always reach out. But if you're kind of like, hey, I thought this would be covering X and it's not, we certainly welcome the opportunity to continue to work with you and making sure that this is landing. And we always have the opportunity to shift, as Jordan mentioned, if needed, but we think this is kind of a good launching into what's next. So, okay, Jordan, I think we're good. Are you ready I'll hand it back to you to see where you want to go now.
Hey, Brian Cotter, did you have your hand up or is that just an old hand? Okay. Sorry.
Well, great. Well, again, thank you all. This is really formed from your work. So again, I would encourage you as we're moving along, please let us know this is how this is going. We do want to respond to like your needs as members. That's the primary goal here. But what I would love to do right now is have people self-select into your subcommittees. We'll have Trace come on and we'll literally go one by one and ask where you want to fall. And then I would love to break into breakout rooms. We can start with about 15 minutes where as an individual subcommittee, just chat. What do you loosely want on your first agenda for November? It doesn't need to be detailed, but if it's something that we at Keystone or CPO can kind of support and making sure you have what you need, we want to know that. Is there additional research you think you might need? What will that look like? And so we'll go from there. I also want to stress, like, just because we're breaking into subcommittees doesn't mean you're going to kind of lose that administrative support you've been receiving. So you will help, we will continue to do recaps. We will continue to do agendas. You're not just going to kind of float out there in subcommittee Neverland, so to speak. We're going to continue to support and make sure everything is a coordinated effort. Trace, have I forgotten anything procedurally?
No, I just think the biggest thing is like, we're going to let folks self-select, but hopefully we self-select naturally into a somewhat 50-50 situation. If not, we might have to have some conversations around, hey, would you be willing? But I think for the purposes of today, go where you feel like you're most interested in, and we'll document where you are. And then hopefully that's going to be enough in each group to just move forward. So that's the only thing I'd add. Okay, so Jordan, it's Zoom, it's 2023 now, so they can self-select into their groups if they've updated their Zoom in the past, I don't know, year and a half. So you'll be so we'll see if you're able to do this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the rooms. You'll see prevention and intervention. You'll click breakout rooms and self-select into that. Brian will be kind of leading one. I'll be in there supporting, and then Jordan will be in the other. I'll pop in at 15 minutes to see how we're doing. We'll either bring folks back then to do a quick debrief and that's it. Or if we need more time, we'll keep going from there. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to open the breakout rooms now. And some people won't have the option to self-select because you need to update your Zoom. So if y'all just hang on for a minute, I'll put you in where you want to go. But go ahead and click on breakout rooms. You should be able, and I see some folks dropping now. All right, Jordan. So I think it might be just nice for folks to hear generally real quick, a quick debrief. I'll hand it to you and Brian, I think, maybe just to make it easy. What did your group kind of coalesce around what's next? And then, any quick questions. I don't know that we don't want to, if you were in the group, that's kind of your group. So I think we're kind of 50-50. So I think folks should anticipate staying in these groups. But Jordan, would love to hear kind of what you all discussed, and then Brian will go to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the subcommittee really decided to kind of continue moving in that direction of those 3 categories that we worked on most recently in August. And what we'll be tackling first, so to speak, is the standardized response protocols. To make sure that we're doing that work adequately, we're going to make sure we have research from Brian regarding what other states have done who have standard protocols, what that looks like on the ground, examples of bringing that in, hopefully bringing some speakers in. And then once we wrap up that discussion, those standard protocols and definitions will be carried over to help develop the next level, which would be that standardized response unit. So the group really decided to kind of keep building on itself all the way into that temporary placement discussion. And if anyone else, if I forgot something, please feel free to jump in.
Nice, Jordan. All right, Brian.
Yeah, our group had a lot of great things to say. I've definitely got a list of work to do, which I'm appreciative for. So this won't be a comprehensive capture of everything that we talked about, but I think some themes emerged around first, like studying and having a good capture of what Colorado law actually says, and helping to distinguish between what the law says and what people might think it says. So can break up I think like folklore or mythology was mentioned as just getting a strong understanding of what the actual law says, and then having that inform like knowing what Colorado is doing or knowing what Colorado is able to do, and then looking at some practices in other states would be really helpful, especially not just in looking at the most like hardware oriented questions of prevention like locks, but also having a broad range of prevention approaches like education is important to offer the full range of opportunities for change that the task force can look at. So yeah, we'll be happy to dig into that, and then always open to feedback on how we can better direct the work that we're doing.
Thanks, Brian. Anybody from that group want to add anything that we didn't capture? Okay, well, suffice it to say, we have lots of work to do, which, like Brian said, grateful for. I think there's a lot of great things we'll be digging in on between now and the November meetings. If, for some reason you jumped into that group and it didn't land the way you thought it was going to, very open to that. So just let me know, send me a note, but otherwise we're pretty 50-50. So I think that'll be good. Grady is chilling. So anything else from the group before we open it to public comment? And Jordan, anything else, or Stephanie, anything else from your end? Okay. I have not received a note for public comment, but do we have anyone on the call that would like to provide public comment before we adjourn? Okay, not seeing any public comment. That's under an hour, which is certainly the most efficient group I've been in a while. Lots of things to do. We're going to give you back a lot of time. Hope you can use it in a meaningful way, or just relax. So thank you, and we'll see you back in November with ready to rock and roll. Thanks, y'all.